My name is Eve Warnock, and I am 41 years old. I'm going to tell you a story about an incident that happened to me when I was 9. I don't talk about this very much because when really weird things happen to you, a lot of people don't relate and they think that you're crazy. Anyway, when I was 9 years old, I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio on Washington Street. I lived with my older brother Hugo, my younger sister Maddie, and my mom. And in the evenings, my mom would take walks because she would get really anxious at night. And so we'd all go out with her on these different walks. And this particular evening, everyone was feeling a little bit edgy and kind of angry and grumpy. And so we all put our shoes on and we went out the door, and we always walked around the block. It was the same block. Everyone knew where we were going. And so we kind of went in our line. Hugo always went in the front, and I kind of walked with my mom because I really enjoyed talking to her. And Maddie kind of was always in the back. She was a little bit slower. And when I was walking with my mom, suddenly Maddie started being like, "Mommy, Mommy," and she said, "Maddie," and what? And Maddie was like, "Oh, I see something. It looks like the moon, and the moon is moving, and it went behind that building, and then it hid." And my mom was like, "Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, come on, Maddie." And of course, Hugo up front heard something and was like, "What did you say, Maddie?" Because Hugo was really into things like this, very odd, strange. He liked listening to Mysterious Universe, a podcast that was all about like aliens and things. And then we kept walking, and suddenly the sky kind of went dark. It was like everything shifted, like the whole light of the day just turned into this weird kind of blue-gray. And when we looked up to see what it was like it had disappeared. The sky had disappeared in this color. And we all kind of stood there for a moment, just in a state of wondering, like, what was that? And then it passed. It was like a big shadow that moved over us. And I didn't really know what to say, but I looked up at my mom, and she was looking over at Maddie, and she said, "Maddie, come, take my hand. We get to go a little bit faster." And Hugo was like, "Mom, what was that?" And my mom said, "Hugo, we're not talking about it." She's like, "Move." And so I remember quickening the pace because it was so strange. And as we were moving, this noise started to kind of start. It was like almost like in my stomach, the noise. It was such a low tone. I've never heard anything like it before. And then it started getting louder and louder and louder until it filled my head. And I couldn't tell if it was outside or inside, but it was taking over my brain to a point that I couldn't think. And I remember looking up at my mom again, just wondering. And she started to squeeze us. And she said to me, like, "Hold on," but I couldn't tell what she was saying. And she brought in Hugo and Maddie, and we all squeezed together and held on. And then this kind of pop, it was like this pop happened, and this like bright light. And then the noise stopped. And I looked up, and I saw my mom, but it was like when you're at the eye doctor and they change the lens, and it's almost too clear, like her outline started to kind of, it wasn't quite there, or was too much there, but it was this kind of fragile look. And I looked around me, and as I saw down the street, I was kind of looking at our apartment building because we were trying to get home, and the apartment building had that same look to it. And then the craziest thing happened was that this thing sort of zoomed over our apartment, our housing complex, and then it zoomed back down, and as it zoomed over, it was like almost like a light of a barcode or something. You could see what was inside the building, and it was warped. Like everything was like as it moved up and down, and then everything went white. And I woke up, but I woke up in our kitchen at our table, getting ready for breakfast. And I looked up and looked around, and my mom was making eggs, and my brother was sitting there reading the newspaper. And I remember my mom, and I said, "Mom," and she looked at me very strangely and walked out the door. And we never talked about it again. I'm not sure what happened to me that day or to my family, but after researching more and more, now in my older years, I think I was abducted. That some other force of nature, some other being came down and abducted my family and I. And that's all I have. Thank you for listening to my story.